was warming up all day for 16. I got up there, and the guy that was doing the announcing gave like a 2-minute announcement of all my.
I do have an argument with one of his things, but go ahead.
What'd he say?
He said that you were the fashion king of Thursday Night Football, which is complete bullshit.
Oh, wow. Some would say.
Yeah, okay, whatever. You don't even dress yourself. They bring you stuff to wear. I'm the fashion king.
Hey there, this is the Fitz and Whit podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm Fitz and he's Whit, and I'm coming in hot. I am coming in hot, Whit. I just walked home from the stadium. Final whistle blows, but what a truly astonishing, bewildering, utterly dominating, history-denying Super Bowl 59. Whit, we said we like the Eagles. I don't know if it's going this far, but we did like those Eagles.
We did. I mean, it's very clear the best team won, Fitz. I said this right after championship weekend. You guys kind of looked at me crazy. I said, you know what? I'd tease the line the other direction.
You did?
I thought the Eagles would win. And you know what? I don't think it was a bad game. I think the reactions, people are going to say it's a bad game. And I think that's because you expected this to be so much closer. And all the people who've been after the Chiefs and wanted to see them fail, they got what they loved. And I think you still have to commend the Chiefs at the same time for being there. And gosh, these poor New York Giant fans. Will they ever live this one down? I was watching the picture of Howie Roseman and Saquon. He's picking him up, hugging him. That's got to be a bitter pill.
Yeah, no, that was a great moment for those two. And, it was interesting because they slowed Saquon down in the game, but he had an historical season. It was unbelievable. And I was talking about throughout the game, just his impact, not just on the field, but off, his leadership, the way that he makes the vibes good in the locker room, all that stuff. But we'll get into that. Coming up, we're going to hand out the game balls for this one. We're going to answer questions that are being asked by Chiefs fans right now, like what actually happened and, why didn't they show Taylor more? Is this Travis's last game? But before we get to the game, let's talk about the scene. Because this was a party that was, you and your little Eagles games that you went to earlier this year, there was a lot of green in this stadium.
It was really all week.
Dude, it was crazy, especially Saturday, Sunday. It just seemed like the birds took over. I had some fun chants. I literally had to walk through the crowd and with them to get to the hotel 30 minutes away. A lot of go birds. I know how to spell Eagles now. Couple other funny chants with some expletives, but the fans, the excitement was there, but it also was like, we have won one before. This isn't like, it wasn't like the Bills won the Super Bowl. They were acting like they won there. I only saw a little bit of a little dust up between one Chiefs fan and a Travis Kelce jersey chirping at somebody in a Birds jersey. But it was a lot of fun walking back and just feeling that energy on the street. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty wild here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about this Eagle fan base, the passion they have is really, one of the best ones in the league. And going to those games, you could feel it. I filmed, I think I sent you this when I went to their game, just walking in the intro of that stadium as they pile in with their chants. I am sure Bourbon Street is going to get a handful of Eagles fans on top of some balconies. There's going to be beads thrown everywhere. There's going to be some celebrations. I've had a couple celebrations in Bourbon Street, so I know how it goes. It'll be a fun night for sure. But, getting back to just really this game and how it played out, Fitz, I mean, I think this was the thing you were a little concerned about in this game. And I think it's so funny. We talked about, all right, after championship weekend, this is where we stood on this game. And then we got to the scene in Super Bowl week, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and you start chewing on the game and you start talking against yourself. We almost last week talked ourselves into picking the Chiefs at one point.
Yeah.
And this is what you were worried about. You knew all the scenarios. The Eagles play a perfect kind of, with their two groups up front. This is going to be the biggest challenge the Chiefs have had because it's the most talented group they definitely have played all year. Yeah. Then in the secondary, they're really good. They're going to make you check the ball down. They're really good tacklers. And then on offense, if you want to take away Saquon, they have dudes outside. And so this was exactly how we played the scenario. Did we think it'd go this one-sided? No. But this was the danger in everybody all week saying, well, all you got to do is just stop Saquon.
Yeah. Well, I loved early in the game when Kansas City had the ball. They did a couple of those quick passes DeJean made a tackle. Quinion Mitchell came up and made a tackle. And it was like, oh, wait, we're not going to be able to sit here and dink and dunk and have these 10, 12-play drives because they're taking that away. And that's been their run game for the season, right? They've struggled a little bit to run the ball. So it's been through that. So right when they made those tackles and right when it started to get into those 3rd, 6, 7, 8, and then it was 4-man rush, pinning your ears back, and they were getting after Patrick Mahomes, and they would not let him get out of that pocket. The tough thing as a quarterback is you start getting hit like that. 2 things. 1, if they're only rushing 4, all those 7 defenders that are playing pass, their eyes are on you. And so you're having to get the ball out early, but they're looking at you when you're throwing with anticipation. And the second thing being, as you get hit, it speeds up your clock. And it happens to the best of them because it happened to Patrick Mahomes tonight. And the one play I point to, the first drive of the second half, they had 12 personnel in, and he had Xavier Worthy on a 75-yard touchdown. And he dropped back, and he stepped up into the pocket when he didn't have to because no fault to him. He had been getting pressure all day, and he stepped up into a sack. If you go back and watch the replay, and funny enough, they throw it later in the game for a 50-yard gain to Xavier Worthy. But the pass rush, it bothered Patrick, not just because he got sacked, but it rushed him and had him out of sorts. And that was a shocker to see that they were able to get it done with a 4-man rush all night long.
Yeah, I thought the craziest thing, I saw the one graphic in the stadium where it's like, they had 6 sacks, 15 pressures at one point in the game, and 0 blitz rate. Bringing absolutely nobody, just rushing 4. It was the matchup we were worried about, right? You talk about Jordan Davis and Milton Williams and really what Jalen Carter's been on the interior. But then all year, early in the year when we had this discussion of Joe Thuney moving outside, and I said if DJ Humphries was healthy, I would love to see them go that other direction. Yes, it worked out in the playoffs. They played great. Joe Thuney should be commended for his efforts and those things. But to me, the issue became this point where I kind of said this the other day when we sat down with Jason. Once you've got enough tape out there, and they know a little bit about, all right, what you're good at and you're bad at. That's one of the things as a lineman, you got to remember when there's limited tape, D linemen, D-line coaches, they got limited things to go off of. But once they've kind of seen, all right, what group's gotten after him? What groups had success? The Texans group, a lot of speed to bulls, just crushing that pocket on Patrick and making it where he feels like he doesn't have space. So when you have great interior rush and then you're able to condense that pocket, I think it's so cool to see a guy like Josh Sweat, who's been there for a minute, a vet for them. Fitz, he hasn't had 2.5 sacks in a game in his career. He goes in the Super Bowl and has a dominant performance, leads them in pressures and sacks. I think it's awesome to see that was really, hey, that was what we were worried about. And sure enough, it came to life. And at one point, I'm texting Melissa. She flew home with Sean and Veronica, and she's asking for updates of the game. And Sean's texting me too. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, man, they're getting so much pressure. Patrick's feet, he doesn't even look like he's like setting his feet ever. It's like he's dropping back and he's dancing all around the pocket before he really is getting settled. You can tell that he's getting antsy. He's catching the football and he's almost like, I got to go do something now because I don't have time. And you could see his decision-making get sped up. And I think that's what led to some of those bad decisions.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And then back to your other point of, okay, we're just going to stop Saquon. If you load the box and you play one-on-one on the outside, we talked about, like, what is the one thing
this is where Jalen wants to throw it.
He's great at the go ball. So the Chiefs went into the game saying, look, Trent McDuffie is a great player. And they said, we're going to follow him around with A.J. Brown when it's man coverage, and we like that matchup. And the Eagles and Jalen Hurts said, so do we. And it was early on, the narrative, the Chiefs get all the calls, that offensive pass interference on A.J. Brown. I'm glad it didn't matter because it was like, okay.
Ooh, that would have been rough.
But they hit A.J. Brown on another go ball. They hit Dotson on a go ball versus press man. They hit A.J. Brown on a back shoulder. It was just one of those things that, like, you can only take away so many things with this offense. And if you give Jalen Hurts the opportunity to not have to make a read, not have to really make a decision pre-snap, go ball, just like pat and go to the outside with as dynamic as A.J. Brown is, that was what was going to happen. And then the second half, I thought he did a great job. They stayed aggressive. They threw that touchdown to Devontae Smith, which was awesome. But Jalen did a great job of taking off and running. If he didn't like it, or if he saw man coverage, the safest play was going to be, let's run, let's keep the clock moving, get the first down and get down. And he was really effective in doing that. So those are the type of games for Jalen, he's going to thrive in that game where you have the lead, where it is comfortable, and where you're going to get some of those great looks on the outside for him to be able to throw it down the field. And then for him to be able to take over a game with his legs too. It was really impressive to see.
Yeah, I think this game could, as many fans for the Eagles that are sitting around happy about this football game, I think this could also be considered, the salty Super Bowl too, because if I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, I'm
Oh my
going,
God.
how did we ever get rid of A.J. Brown? If I'm a New York Giants fan, I'm saying, what in the world did we ever let Saquon Barkley walk out of our building for? And if you're a Miami Dolphin, Vic Fangio, I mean, arguably, game ball. Got to give it to this guy. This performance in Miami, he was too tough. He was too hard on the
He
guys.
was mean.
The
He
system
was
was too
mean. It
complicated.
doesn't work
He's
anymore. He's
mean.
too old. It doesn't work.
He's mean. And this guy's arguably had one of the biggest impacts on the game of football, defensive philosophy-wise, of anybody in recent, years. Really, with coverages and the way teams are playing, you see this just getting copycatted all over the place. You know what? I mean, gosh, you got to feel good. Vic Fangio right now, it's like you go to the Philadelphia Eagles coming from Miami where they thought you'd turn it around, said you couldn't do it. Maybe it's dated. And then now you're a Super Bowl champion as a defensive coordinator. That's pretty cool.
Let's don't forget about Howie Roseman either. And the roster construction. This is the most talented roster in the
he's
NFL.
Getting game ball one, in my opinion.
It's unbelievable. And the way that he's hit on all his draft picks, especially those high draft picks on defense, the way that he's built this offense. I mean, they've got Pro Bowlers on all levels. They got all pros on all levels. These guys are so impressive. And the fact that he transitioned this year, and you talked about this before, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, some of those guys that are now gone, some of that leadership that is now gone to seamlessly add other guys in. It's been so impressive, and you can't say enough about him. Let's go ahead and talk just for a second about Kansas City. I would first want to say about them, what an accomplishment for them to obviously win two, but get back to the Super Bowl again. That's something that's never happened. So I don't think we can take anything away from the Chiefs. And to be honest, I think this game shows, we're scratching our head all year long, especially when they hit that stretch where they kept winning games, but it didn't feel good. They beat the Broncos, but it didn't feel great. They blocked a kick at the end. The Raiders game that we had with the missed snap at the end by the Raiders, there were so many of these things that they were getting away with, and it was like, God, I guess they are. If it's a one-score game, they're going to win. They've done it 17 times in a row. They did it 12 times this season. But this Eagles team was just too talented.
Not this team.
They really were, man.
I said this, Fitz. It was almost like you got, all right, let's just go pick a game middle of the season. Let's see what these two teams are. And you think of who the Eagles were after their bye week from the rest of the season. One of the top defenses in the league, running the football, explosive as can be. And who are the Chiefs in the middle of the season? A good football team, but a lot of, oh man, should have lost if this happened, should have lost if this happened, got one break here, one break there. And you think of it like they almost were exactly what we saw all regular season, not the Chiefs that have found a way to take off in the postseason. They were really what we saw in the regular season that you were worried about. That was the performance against a performance that we saw from the Eagles really after their bye for the rest of the season. And I think it's to be commended.
But what was wild about the Chiefs game, the Chiefs play too, is uncharacteristic mistakes. Like there was
early in the game
hit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a hit on Goddard. There was the hit on Barkley where it was 2nd and 26 and it gave him an automatic first down. There was lining up offsides on the cover 0 where they sacked Jalen Hurts on 3rd down. So there's just a lot of things you're looking at going, this isn't who they are. And then it just got to the point where it got out of hand and, the Eagles were pinning their ears back. Those DBs had their eyes on Patrick and it wasn't going to go well for them. But kudos to the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, there's a question mark there. Is he done? Is he not? I don't know. He certainly was frustrated. Throughout that game. And it was one of those things that just wasn't their day.
Yeah, you could see in their faces there at one point in the game, you could see that feeling. Like they knew, man, this isn't our time. You can almost see that emotion overcome guys at certain points in the game. I got to ask you, though, you look all sharp. You got the hair combed up. I mean, you look great, dude. I see you with the coat on and all that. This is like maybe the most formal I've ever seen you for a podcast. I appreciate you dressing up. But I know that you had the opportunity to call the game on Sky Sports. I got to know a couple things.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
One, my first one would be at halftime when it's 24-0. What are you explaining to the European fans about why in the world this game is 24-0?
Well, you got to remember, I was just trying to keep them awake at that point because they were, whatever time it was for them, 2 a.m. I don't know how many people are actually watching at that point. So,
did you just try to sing the Kendrick Lamar songs yourself, or?
well, so I was up there with Ndamukong Suh and Neil Reynolds and a gal Phoebe, and she's super smart about football. So I look over, and Phoebe and Sue are nodding their head and grooving, and Neil Reynolds is whiter than
Don't
me.
try. You didn't try.
No, me and him were just
Okay.
stiff as a board. And he was like, when they announced Kendrick Lamar, I thought that was a basketball player. And I was like, oh my God. And then Sue looked at me and he's like, dude, I forgot he had all these bangers. And I was like, I haven't recognized the song yet. So
that's great.
But you know what is so fun? So the way they do it over there, they air the American broadcast. So they were able to hear Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt. And then in lieu of commercials, there's analysis. And so this is something, I don't know how we could do it, but I would love to do it with you because it's kind of, you're not providing instant feedback because it's not like as the play's happening. You're not a play-by-play or color guy, but it's so much fun for me to sit up there. And when I tell you I was in the top of the Superdome, I mean, this was a nosebleed of nosebleeds, but for me, I loved it. I love being up there. I could see everything. And so it was fun just to give my perspective on that. Whether they liked it, knew what I was saying or not, I don't know, but I really did enjoy it. And there, you know what? The strides that European football fans have made, American football fans have made, European American football fans, European non-soccer fans, the strides that they have made in the last 15 years in terms of knowledge of the sport, I think is pretty incredible. And this is my third year doing it, and I've really enjoyed it. The best part, though, is we do a post-game show, too. So at this point, what is it, 4:30 in the morning? So it's like, okay, whatever I'm saying is not being listened to. And Neil, the head, he said, oh, I have to apologize for some language that Sue used there in the last. And this was like when Tate, my son, had to apologize for saying pissed on air for his high school football game. I think Sue said ass. And at 4:30 in the morning, Neil Reynolds is apologizing for Sue using the word ass. So I thought it was funny. And I said, what word is he apologizing for? Ass? And I was going to go through all the cuss words to make him apologize again. But we left it at that.
Nobody cares,
dude. No, at that point, like
nobody cares.
Nobody awake at all. But
I was about to say, Sue had to be pretty fired up watching that game. I mean, that had to be for him. Those four guys getting after it like that up front for the Eagles. He had to be enjoying that.
You remember he was there, right? He was there a couple of years ago. So those are all his boys. Yep. And yeah, I mean, that was the type of game that he loved. And he right away called it. It was like, this feels a lot because he was on Tampa when they beat Kansas City. And he was like, this feels like that Tampa game where they just got after Patrick right away. And it was eerily similar to that. And Tom made reference to it on the broadcast too. So that was the game. I think this Eagles team, I mean, they're built for success for the long run, right? This isn't a one and done. I mean, they're going to be a team to compete with for years and years here. And you called it early. You're trying to, Detroit and the Eagles, Fitz, make it. And I couldn't do it, but you were on this early. They were the best team. They were certainly the best team in the league this year. And sometimes it doesn't happen like that with Super Bowl winners, but this year it certainly did.
Yeah, you think of this group. I mean, we've said it all year, man. I mean, this group up front on both sides, but I thought really stuck out multiple ways. And especially early in this game, it was like it didn't matter what Spags was bringing. This offensive line is so dominant. And then Saquon, I mean, I thought it was cool. You watch Saquon, he picked up some great blitzes. Like, that's one of the things that's underrated about Saquon's game. Not only is he somebody who contributes so much in all the different facets of giving him the football, but even when he doesn't, his pass blocking is unbelievable. In that game, he had some great pickups early in the game where he's not having any success, but I love seeing he's freaking all-out effort picking up blitzes. I thought that was just a big part of the early part of the game, is setting the tone there. And also their commitment that we're going to give him the ball 25 times in this game regardless, because that's going to keep you honest. And if you want to keep chasing him, great, because we're going to keep taking these one-on-ones you're giving us out on the outside. And it ended up being the story of the game. You win in the trenches. And if you're a team in the league and you're trying to figure out how you make your team better, D lineman and O lineman. I'm just telling you, just make it a Rolodex every single year. Put it in your draft room and say, we can never draft enough of them, because that's what this Eagles team has done on both sides of the football. They rotate guys all over the place, and they have a plethora of guys they can play up front with, and it leads to having success. And you find those other pieces throughout the process.
Yeah. Phoebe, who I was doing the broadcast with, she has done a lot for the International Player Portal. I think that's what it's called, the IPP or program, whatever it is. And so they gave a shout out at the end, and they were like talking about Jordan Mailata, and just trying to hype the program and saying like how wonderful it is. And it is. It's been a wonderful opportunity for a lot of people that aren't in the States. But I also just had to make them realize, if you're watching this game, at that point it was probably 4:30 in the morning. If you're watching this game at 4:30 in the morning and you're 6'8", 355 pounds and can run a 4.8,
you got a chance
to America and play football. Yeah.
Yeah. But, if you fit that criteria, you're in.
Yeah. Right? Let's recap the week, dude, because it was a banger of a week. The Super Bowl week is always so much fun. Mine started on Wednesday. I got to play in the Pro-Am.
I'm so proud of you.
Dude, I didn't play great all day. It's a shamble, not a scramble.
The only one that matters.
The only one that mattered. I was warming up all day for 16. I got up there, and the guy that was doing the announcing gave like a 2-minute announcement of all my.
I do have an argument with one of his things, but go ahead.
What'd he say? Which?
He said that you were the fashion king of Thursday Night Football, which is complete bullshit.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, some would say, some would say.
Some would say. Yeah, okay. Whatever. You don't even dress yourself. They bring you stuff to wear.
Hey, by the way,
I'm the fashion king.
I didn't have my top stick for my shirt, so the button just kept popping that chest and lats, that burl chest. But anyway, so he does the introduction. I hit it right. The pro didn't hit it on the green. The 3 other people on my team didn't hit it on the green. I put it dead center in the middle of the green. Cheers. Elation. Proud. I'm walking
That's
up.
That's way to represent the podcast, Fitz. That's what I'm talking about.
It was awesome. But the next part, I 3-putted and got booed off the green. So, it was one of those stay humble moments. But awesome time. And then I got to fly over here with Larry Fitzgerald and some dudes. And yeah, so then I was Thursday. But you got in town for the Super Bowl Wednesday, right? Is that?
Yeah, we got in Wednesday night. It was great. Melissa and I now, that's kind of our deal to go to the Super Bowl together every year. That's our mom and dad trip that we look forward to so much. And so it was a blast. I mean, we got in Wednesday night, went straight to the Kelsey, the New Heights party. Had a great time hanging out with Kylie and Jason and just everybody there. It was like the first night, you get in, you start seeing everybody that you kind of think is going to go to the Super Bowl, and different actors and celebrities are there and athletes, and just hanging out, having a good time, having some garage beer, just enjoying.
Oh, there you go. Some garage beer, yeah. Some light lager. Look at you.
Some light logs, babe. Having a good time. So we had a good time hanging out doing that. And then I got a cool offer to go at 3 a.m. wake up call. Nothing like coming in the first night and saying, hey, let's get in it. Let's get in some drinks. Let's stay out late. And then let's sign up for the 3 a.m. wake up. And so I signed up for the 3 a.m. wake up call to go do Fox's part of their intro to the Super Bowl. It was an epic moment. I mean, it was absolutely insane. The setup, the detail that went into it, the way they executed it was crazy. We went to Bourbon Street in the middle of the night. They blocked it off. And, Strahan and Tom Brady did an awesome, lead into the game, just talking about, all the different things that have gone on, throughout the country this year, the adversity and really just the catastrophe things that have happened. And it was an emotional moment. And then it ended with us all wrapping around Lady Gaga, sitting at a piano, singing the song, Hold My Hand. And it was Fitz. We got to do 4 takes of it. I think it was 3 takes or 4 takes. I mean, I'm 10 feet from Lady Gaga sitting at a piano looking dead at me, like we're eye contact. And I am like listening to her, and I'm like, she is outer worldly talented. It was like it was echoing off the walls of Bourbon Street. It was unbelievable. There's people crying. A lot of the first responders are there, and even some of the officers from the terrorist attack in New Orleans. It was a really emotional moment, and all 3 takes or whatever that she did it live, full go, all 3 takes, and it was every single time more tears, more emotions. It was a really sick thing to get to be a part of. And then I came back to the hotel, had a couple coffees, and it was Radio Row for about 6 hours. So
Dude,
we got
you
after
are
it,
an
baby.
absolute warrior. If you like Witt's schedule, he's an absolute warrior during Super Bowl week. Okay, two things. One, so they did it that early because they wanted it to feel like nighttime leading into the game.
Yeah, I want it to feel just like the intro to the game, like you were walking into the game.
Yeah, and then the second thing, which I love, you said to me, yeah, but I don't know if you're even going to see me in the shot, And right when they played it, like, I'm like, dude, trust me, they're going to see you. Like, you're 6'7", bald and beautiful. They're going to see you. So right when they played it, my phone just starts blowing up, and it was like, hey, I saw your friend Big Whit. Hey, Big Whit's on the intro. Hey, is that Big Whit with Lady Gaga? I was like, yes, you were noticed. You had your little fire department shirt on, right? And you had the big. Yeah, you would say you were about 10 feet away from Lady Gaga, but it was, man, you said it was going to be epic, and it was very powerful. It was very emotional and super cool. But then speaking of powerful and emotional, when I ran into you later that day, you were running on E, and it was like 4 p.m. and I was excited. I had just gotten into town. I was rip roaring, ready to go. And you were just like,
I was on the struggle bus.
Who's scoring big in the NBA this season? You are, with all the new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From monster slams to dishing the rock, whoosh, to cleaning that glass. Wee-oo, wee-oo. Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props.
Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking how many points your favorite player will have. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. I'll be looking for my guy Luka when he gets back in action. Here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
So take it to the rack. Big basketball guy with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Fitz and Whit. That's code Fitz and Whit for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. My favorite part about the Super Bowl is the late night. Like, who are you going to run into, right? And so for me, like, we were Four Seasons for a little bit. We went to eat. I came back thinking, look, first night of the Super Bowl, I'm going to take it easy. And so I think I got back by like 11:30. But of course, to get to your room in the Four Seasons, you got to walk by the lobby bar. And all of a sudden, I look around, they do last call. Okay, great. We get our final beer, tequila, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting at a table with Matt Leinart and Clay Travis, of all people. And it's like, it's just the most random collection of people. Ironically, I'd never met Matt Leinart in my life. And it's 3:30 and nobody else is there. And I'm like, oh my God, I was supposed to be in bed 3 hours ago. But then you get up the next morning and you do it all again.
Do it all again, baby. Get that morning coffee and you do it all again. Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, I kind of early nighted it that night. I went to honors, which was really cool. Getting a chance to see Eric Armstead win Walter Payton Man of the Year was awesome. Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year. Jared Verse being the Rookie of the Year. Just some people you have some connections with. And, and then obviously I think that, the big one is Josh Allen. I think so cool, man. I mean, what a great human. That reaction of him you saw, on social media watching the video. I mean, what a freaking cool moment, man. It just reminds you this game is made up of a lot of men, man, that fight and claw, fight through adversity and chase their dreams and go after things they've always wanted to achieve their whole life. But at the end of the day, we are people, man, and you have a massive impact whether you realize it or not. And seeing Josh Allen's emotion, watching that video and how much it meant to him, even though he's devastated that he's not playing in this game, I'm sure he is feeling very proud of the impact of the, just the human being he is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's actually where I came from when I was walking to go to bed through the Four Seasons lobby. I ran over to where Josh was, gave him a big hug, got to talk to his parents for a little bit, gave them a big hug. What a cool moment for him, just to tell him congratulations and, how amazing he is and how proud I was of him, and special night for him. So that was super cool and a cool moment, for Bills fans too, because of how sad it was at the end of the season, but because of how well-deserved that was for him. And they wear that thing as a badge of honor too. So really cool to see and well-deserved for him. And I can't imagine that's going to be his last one. But we'll see. And so then what was the next day, Whit? We woke up the next
Friday.
day. What did we do then?
Well, Friday I had the crawfish bowl on Friday.
Yeah, your schedule is always booked. I would just text you at 12:30 and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Well, you've already done 8 events. Okay.
Yeah, I spoke at an event in the morning. I went to the crawfish bowl, in the afternoon. That was really cool with Pepsi. That was an awesome deal. I was crushing crawfish. I felt like I was in college again. I was really worried about how I was going to smell coming over to film the podcast with Jason. So I'd say, I say next in list. I mean, that was awesome. Just getting to, spend some time with Jason and Kylie and Melissa got to hang around and watch Kylie film her podcast. And then obviously us getting to sit down with Jason. I felt like that was a really neat moment just to kind of share some of that. And really cool too. If you think about this game, Fitz, how many of those things came to life that we talked about? I talked about how he had been so defensive of Jalen Hurts and why he deserves more credit for what this team really is. And look at this game as a great example of it.
Yeah, and just to sit down with him and shoot the shit about life and fatherhood and all those different things, and just for all three of us, like we've been buddies for a while, and you've probably known him and been buddies a little bit longer than I have, but just to have that 45 minutes to an hour to sit down and to talk.
Yep.
And there were microphones in front of us. Yeah, there was a camera in front of us, but it was so authentic and real. And it truly did just feel like, we had beers in hand, hanging out, talking about life. And I mean, I really enjoyed that. And for him to take the time was really nice. But I also got to tell him about, those damn autographs I've been signing for him. Cause it's like people, dude, it is just,
there's a lot of people that are going to listen to that podcast, Fitz, and they're going to be devastated that you signed their autograph as Jason Kelsey in American Century Golf Tournament. And
yeah, all
you're
good.
Not Jason Kelsey. And then that led to Commissioner's Party, which was awesome.
Dude, the Commissioner's Party was awesome. Whit and I had a goal of doing a lap in the Commissioner's Party, having it be an hour,
for 1 hour,
and getting out of there because we had other stuff we wanted to do. Commissioner's Party is incredible. So many good people there, so many stories told. And again, it's just kind of, you turn around, you see somebody you haven't seen in 10 years, you turn around, you see one of your best buddies. We walked into the old St. Louis Rams circle, big OP Orlando Pace, who is a mountain of a man, and you kind of forget how big he is. Steven Jackson, Torrey Holt, who I threw,
makes me feel tiny.
Dude, it was crazy. I threw my very first touchdown ever to Torrey Holt. I always love catching up with him. But it's just kind of a who's who, and you're running into all the great teammates and then executives and owners and everybody in the same room. And it's so much fun. But we had other things to do. We're busy people.
We did.
We had some fun things to go and people to see and things to do. But I think we split ways at that point?
We did? Yeah, we hung out. First before we went, we hung out with Sean and Kevin O'Connell and those guys for a little bit, and it's always fun sitting in those circles. It's so great because you're sitting in the circle and it's like half the people are maybe talking about the party you're going to after. Yeah. There's always like a coach in the corner going a full breakdown on like offensive schemes and like who we're trying to get. Sean's always over there like breaking down. We wanted this coverage. We're going to throw this ball. And you're like, hey man, listen, that was like 6 weeks ago. Nobody wants to talk about it anymore, but you get all those like strange conversations that are happening in those circles, and Commissioner's Party, it's the same thing. And then we split ways. You went to, I think what'd you go to? Jelly Roll?
I didn't realize Jelly Roll was even on. So we got there, and before Chris Stapleton was Jelly Roll, it was unbelievable. That was so cool. Then Chris Stapleton comes on again, incredible. And then it was so weird. This reminded me of the Seinfeld episode when Kramer, he's a stand-in at like the Oscars, and he gets whisked away onto the stage and he accepts an award. And they was like, so after we were leaving Chris Stapleton, I get like pushed into this basement of the Orpheum, and Snoop is like spinning disc. I don't know what we call it. Snoop is DJing in this room of
spinning
like 200.
Disc.
I don't know what it's called. He was DJing for like 200 people, and I'm standing in the middle of this room, obviously filled with smoke. John Hamm is just going wild in the corner, and I'm like, what is this life that we live, man? It is so funny, but
it makes no sense.
Again, like we did the hour loop in the Commissioner's Party. I was going to be in bed by midnight, and I'll tell you what, it's a little strange walking home at 3:30 in the morning in New Orleans. I don't care if there's a huge police presence or not. It's a little bit eerie outside at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, but you had a safe, you had a bodyguard who, walked you home. So you're in good shape.
I want to put this guy. I want to give a shout out to John E. He was going by the name Hungry. We'll throw a picture of him up there. We became fast friends. 20-minute walk back home. He wanted to be my security guard. He was worried people were following me. We stopped in the DoubleTree Inn to throw him off the stent for a little bit. Tried to get me to go in a car to go somewhere else. Wanted to know what kind of transgressions I was getting in. I was like, John E., man, I am just trying to get to bed. But he
just trying to get to the Four Seasons.
He was great. He's my dog. He's my boy now. So shout out to Hungry for walking me home that night, man.
I love that. Yeah, you went to that Stapleton and Jelly Roll, and I went over to the H-Wood party, homecoming, right here on my hat. There we go. Cool.
Yeah.
Little chain smokers and Nelly and everything else. So that was a blast. Had a good time. And then, I hit this point, Fitz. You know me well enough. I mean, a lot of times I can drink myself into being sober. And I got in there. There wasn't much air conditioning. I was sweating. And I finally just looked at the whole group, and I was like, I was with Sean and Kevin O'Connell and a bunch of guys. And I was just like, yeah, hey, listen, you know what? You guys have a good time. I'm going home. And so I just walked straight. You know me, I'll Houdini in a second. So I just walked out. I'm gone. You guys, good luck. Happened to run into Jared Goff and Kristen, right outside the club, and jumped in with them and went home. So I was like, I'm out of here. Great times. This is cool. There's all kinds of famous people in here. It's been neat to say hey to everyone. But once I start sweating, if there's dripping coming off my forehead, you saw this in Miami, my whole mood changes, and I'm out of here. So once the sweat starts, I'm gone.
I got one more story I got to bore you with. I was so excited. This is probably my highlight of Super Bowl weekend. I went to Rao's. Is that how you say it? Rao's? Rao's, the sauce, Raos, Rao's.
Rao's.
Rao's. It was a pop-up. Oh. So they have the famous place in New York, Rao's.
Yeah. It's Rao's.
I couldn't say it the whole weekend. So I am certainly not cool still. But this, I actually didn't realize when I got there. That is the sauce that we buy at home. It is. So it started in New York. You've got so they do pop-ups for big events. So pop-up Super Bowl week, tough ticket to get. Amazon was nice enough to invite me. We went. We had a good time. One table over from me is Pete Davidson, who I didn't get a chance to say hi to, and Kevin Costner. Big Kevin Costner fan.
Oh, buddy, Melissa Whitworth is.
I know she is. So I've probably been there for an hour. Kevin Costner puts on his coat, and I think he's getting up to go to the bathroom. Walks right by me. We didn't make eye contact or anything. He goes like this to my shoulder, like a little shoulder graze. All it was a cool way to say, hey, I see you. Okay, you're there. I know who you are. And I'm like, so I try to play it off. I'm staring straight ahead. I give it like 5 seconds to make sure that he's not like looking at me. And the whole Amazon table that was next to me is going nuts. And we're like, oh my God, Kevin Costner like just gave me the acknowledgement.
We made it.
Dude, he was huge. And at that point, he put his coat on. I thought he was gone. Well, 5 minutes later, he comes back, takes his coat off, and he sits back down at his table. And so
that's my favorite part.
Dude, I'm racing, and my mind's going.
In case you're wondering, anybody listening, this is the 10th time he's told this story. So go ahead, Fitz.
Oh, my God.
It's my favorite part, though.
So I'm like, my mind is racing. I'm like, what am I going to do? And he looks at me. We lock eyes. And the only thing I can think to do is throw up deuces. I'm like, hey.
Oh, God.
Which, whatever. But he comes back to me. He goes, I got to lift it up, but he goes by his hip and he does the shooter, like he's doing this deal, and he shoots at me. And I was like,
he gave you the gun.
Dude, when I told Melissa this story, like we were
You got
both
the finger gun from Kev.
Like I got the finger gun from Kevin Costner, which to me was the invite to go talk to him. I acted like I was getting up and getting a meatball across the table. I turned around. Oh, hey, how are you? Kevin, no, Mr. Costner, of course. And we talked for a little bit, but that was the highlight of my week right there. He's unbelievable. Was so awesome. Nice. And I got the little finger gun from Kevin Costner, which, by the way, if I ever see you across the room, I'll probably just finger gun you from now on.
I like that, man. We're gonna have to implement that one into our game now. That is awesome. The finger gun. I'm so proud of you. That's a cool moment. I know Melissa's really jealous. Then let's think. We went on to Friday. So now let's get into Saturday. Saturday. Let's see. Saturday's another. I got a chance. Hey, listen. You know what? Here's the only time I'm okay with sweating. I was on top of a float pouring sweat, throwing beads at people. I'm trying to hit people on the third balcony of buildings.
You've got an
I mean, it
arm
was
too.
about how far can you throw one?
Yeah.
We got some good clips. I think DraftKings has of. I pulled off some good ones. I felt pretty good. Kind of thought I was a gunslinger.
Beads? Like, yeah, but if you're throwing it that hard, is there any point where you're like watching it and somebody's not looking and you're like hitting them in the face or anything, or no?
I'm not gonna lie. I did actually make contact with a baby on one, but it was more of a drop, so I felt okay with that one. It was just the mom dropped it. She was like standing there with her arms out, and I dropped the beads, and they went right through her hands and smacked right in the stroller. But there's definitely some shots. There's a couple of them, like I was throwing them to somebody, and I'd catch a cameraman instead, and I felt bad about those. But DraftKings parade was fun. That wasn't bad, and then we got a chance to meet up for a little lunch, and then make our little way over.
Yeah, it was great. We did Bengals house that day, right?
Yeah, went over to the Bengals house, got a chance to see the Bengals LSU house. That was fun. Not, I don't know the last time I've done a Bengals event, so that was good just to kind of see everybody, catch up with the family. That was quick. You got a little bit to tell our story about Jacksonville again. Always a winner, always hits home.
The Whit ejection stories are always good. I met Joe Burrow's dad. That was cool. I had met him before.
Yeah.
Good dude. But yeah, so that was a good night. And then that was the one we met up later, right, at the party. And
I ended up going to. I got a chance to go to. Todd Graves had a deal at Galatoire's there for Raising Cane's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Got a chance to go do that. That was cool. That was one of those rooms where you're like, holy crap, there's like Leo, there's freaking, Orlando, there's freaking Saweetie, and all these, a bunch of people that I'm not even close to as cool as. And then, of course, Joe Burrow's right there in the middle of it, because he is cool and always swaggy. So got a chance to visit with all them. That was really cool. I mean, obviously, this week is all about that. These rooms you get a chance to just stand in and it led to Fitz. I didn't get to have a gun finger moment with him, but I did see Kevin Costner. He walked in the event that we were at that night.
Did you get to meet him or no?
Back at the Canes Hotel, I did get to say hello, but the worst part was he came in and said hello to Todd Graves, and they were speaking, and then Melissa disappeared, and I immediately. Had a couple guys, who obviously know her affection for Kevin Costner are like, where did Melissa go? And I was like, oh, I know where she went. She's always said that if she got to meet Kevin Costner, she was going to throw her panties at him. And so I was pretty sure that she went to the bathroom to take her panties off. I mean, I was almost positive. So I had to go find out. Of course she didn't, but good. She has always said that. So,
so he's on the exempt list or whatever they call it, huh?
Well, in the South, she always says, listen, Kevin Costner's one of those people I throw my panties on the stage for, and so that's her quote. But no, she did not. But she was in all. And then she got mad at me because I was ready to go to bed. I hit that point. I started sweating and I was tired.
Yeah, sweaty wet.
And we're out of here. We got some canes for the road, and I sweat over my canes and ate it on the way back, even though I was so full that I could not eat anything else. And she continued to yell at me about the fact that we left because she thought she was going to become fast friends with Kevin Costner if she got to stay. So
I got to ask you then, speaking of food and sweating and eating, we had talked about on the podcast before we came out here, we were going to do a before and after weight. And I haven't done the post weigh-in. Have you done the post weigh-in yet?
Here's what I'm going to say. So I weighed before I left. Tomorrow I'll be back at the scale. So I'm going to hop on the scale tomorrow, and we'll see where we're at.
Okay. So we will post. Yeah,
I think we need travel because you don't want to go immediately after eating because that's really kind of inflated number. We want to go travel home, get settled, and then hop on that scale and let's see what we did. Let's see what the damage is.
I'm glad you're saying that because I completely forgot about this. And as I was heading up to my room in the Four Seasons, they had sliders and tater tots. And I may have taken a bag and then said, oh, can I get a bag for my wife too? And taken two, even though Liza's not here. But I will weigh in tomorrow. You can weigh in tomorrow. And then why don't we just on the Fitz and Whit Twitter handle or Instagram or whatever, we'll just post the weight gain for the weekend. But I actually feel pretty good about it. I feel like I did.
I don't feel too bad. I these last couple of days I've done okay. I've had some moments, but not too bad. And some of it, you're so busy. We're popping around to so many different events that you don't actually get a chance to eat that much. You can have a couple moments though. But here's what I would say. Give me this real quick, okay? I want you to give me maybe, obviously Louisiana's a place known for food. So I want to know do you have an MVP of the week of something you had to eat, like something you'd be like, all right, this was memorable. And then if you had to do a top 3 of Super Bowl moments this past week, things you got to do, what would they be? I'm going to give you mine. I'll let you think
Okay,
for a
great,
second.
great.
Okay. Mine's going to be, I'm going to start with the Lady Gaga thing, just going to the Fox, but only because obviously it's an early wake up. It's not some huge part where you're like talking or doing something. But for me, it was the experience. Bourbon Street obviously has made a massive part of my life in the sense of the championships I've won and celebrated there that we've talked about a lot, and Superdome and New Orleans and everything that's happened. Obviously the LA fires, you name it, Katrina. There's a lot of reasons that it's an emotional thing to me to be there in New Orleans talking about some of those things. So being in that moment was really, really cool and therapeutic, and just you could feel the intensity of it. That would probably be one. I think honestly, it was really cool sitting down with Jason on Friday, just getting to just talk, just like we would if the 3 of us were sitting there having a coffee. I thought that was really, really neat. And then third, I would probably say, honestly, like the Four Seasons bar area, just hanging out down there in the lobby was some of the most fun I had. It's just all the people we work with, the Amazon pop up there, like their activation, just kind of getting a chance to sit in a circle with people I work with, whether it be Sean and Kevin, guys that I've been around as coaches, and then also our Amazon folks, just everyone we work with there, just kind of being around like, hey, end of the year, what a cool year it's been. All of it coming to life in those moments and getting to spend some quality time together, and all the different faces that pop up. That's probably my third.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Amazon setup that they had was incredible, and a lot of their clients and people come in. So to spend time in there is a lot of fun. And the most fun about that for me, which is a top 3 moment, is they had Papa Shot.
You
And
dominated. You
I
absolutely
mean,
dominated.
I think you probably had an inkling, but then you found out how serious I take my Papa Shot. And so they had the leaders, they had a scoreboard, and it was 6 people. And my goal by the end of, the hour that I was there, which it got sweaty and it got uncomfortable, was to clear everybody's name off that board. And when I put up 145 Whit on that board, I walked out of there feeling like a hero. I'll tell you
You
that much.
did.
And
I love that you described it as an hour, because I would call it about 2.5 hours, because I came back from
it
I
was,
started with you playing the
yeah,
game. You were in full sweat. You took a break because your arm was so tired. I went to an event with Breitling, and by the time I got back an hour later, you were just leaving because you said you'd finally gotten bored and tired of playing the game.
the worst part about that is I was wearing like a quarter zip, and it was so muggy and I got so hot. But then you get to the point, if you're wearing a quarter zip and a t-shirt underneath and you start sweating, like I couldn't take off my quarter zip because the sweat stains on my undershirt were going to be so bad that I just had to continue to sweat and to bear it. But yes, I didn't know I was going to be down there for 2.5 hours playing Papa Shot, but I
All right,
was.
if that's one of them, then give me the other two.
Okay, the other 2, one of them, this one's a little bit random, but I'm going to throw it out there. So Cal McNair is the owner of the Texans. So we went to the commissioner's party. His wife is Hannah. His wife's sister, her name is Adele, and she was one of the flight attendants for one of my many teams. And I had not seen Adele since she was a flight attendant on one of the teams I played for. And I got to see her, and she is like the most lovely, crazy, wonderful person. And so that was really fun for me, because it was such a fish out of water moment of like, all right, we're here with NFL owners and coaches and all these important people. And the one person I want to talk to is the lady that was my flight attendant and friend
That's awesome.
on my flights all year. So that
That's
to
cool.
me was really cool. The fellowship all weekend was great. I would say the number one moment for me, even though I already said it, CAA has been my agency. It's Josh Allen's agency. And I still remember when we were at the Masters and he had not been drafted yet. And we're at a CAA tent party there and just talking about the prospects of where he was going to go. And I had a real good feeling that Buffalo was going to draft him, not because I talked to anybody, just getting to know the kid and the person that he was. It just seemed like such a great fit. So to be there from the beginning and to be rooting for him the whole way and to see him do it the right way and to see the growth that he's had, just to have that moment of congratulations after he got back from winning the MVP, and how proud his parents were looking at him and the person that he is. That was probably the number one moment, even though it was a tiny moment. for me and a blip on the radar for him. That was a really cool moment. It was kind of a full circle moment for me. So I would say that was probably the best part of the weekend. Spending time with you was definitely the best, but that goes on.
I didn't even make the list. Always, brother. Always good time. What about food? Do we have a favorite that you tried? Anything you tried? New Orleans cuisine?
I had a lot of beignets. I'll tell you that. I mean,
we did do that.
I will say,
we ate a lot of beignets.
Yeah, our producer Spoon, it was really great. Spoon and I were like snuggled up in a car, leaving the commissioner's party and going to Chris Stapleton, and he was eating beignets, and it looked like cocaine all over the lapel of his. I was like, you can't do that. Like, you can't walk into a concert with like white powder all over your shirt, man. But those beignets are tricky. And then for me, like, it's just not good. It's too much powder sometimes, but they taste so good. So I would say I would go there. Gumbo, like I was ordering shrimp and grits early in the morning, but I had breakfast by myself every morning and just went to a different place. I did Ruby Slipper. I did a place I forgot the name of, but great. I mean, it was so good. And then, you know, Rayos. The food was unbelievable. Got to meet Kevin Plank and sit with him there. Koshan. Like, it was a good food weekend for me.
Yeah, it was. It was great. I listen, New Orleans didn't disappoint. You think of that Super Bowl, it's all about the fellowship and the food and having a good time, and they don't let you down. So New Orleans has been obviously one of the top Super Bowl host sites. I think tied up there with Miami, maybe at 11. And you know what? It doesn't disappoint. It's a good time. You can walk everywhere you want to go, which is, I think, one of the reasons they like it so much as a Super Bowl host site is you really can walk anywhere. I mean, it got to a point that week where walking was way faster than driving anywhere. So, but I think it was a great week, man. It was an awesome week. It was so cool to catch up with people. We had some epic moments, hung out with a bunch of celebrities, hung out with a bunch of famous people that we have no business being in the same room with. But you know what? That's what it's all about, baby. And then also the Eagles, man, they stopped the three-peat. The Eagles got in the way, won the Super Bowl. It was pretty sick, man. But you know what else that means, Fitz?
What does that mean?
Everybody's 0-0 now, baby.
Oh.
It's anybody. 2025. It's 0-0. You and I get to start all over again, guessing who's going to be who in 2025 because everybody is 0-0. I was texting with Sean McVay after the game. He's like, you know what? They beat us. We had a chance to beat them. We freaking one play away on the 13-yard line, and now they're the Super Bowl champs. And he wrote me a text right after that, and he goes, but you know what? We're all 0-0 now. And I was like, Yep, you're right.
That's awesome.
Here we go, 2025.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate the weekend. We had a great time. It was good to spend time with you and Melissa and the whole Amazon crew and everybody we saw. Get to spend some time with Sean McVay, which was pretty fun. But it's all ball all the time, baby.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Thank you for joining us for our post-Super Bowl 59 episode presented by DraftKings. Please join us next time when we bring you the complete Jason Kelce interview. You don't want to miss it. Jason Kelce, a man undoubtedly in emotional conflict right now, celebrating a great win for his beloved Eagles and his best buddy Lane Johnson, but mourning a terrible loss for his little bro, Travis. You have to hear Jason's take on life after football and his thoughts on the real Swift effect. That's next time. Till then, thank you for watching Fitz and Whit.